How's it going, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Bodacious Rant with Burn and Rye. Hope everybody had a great spooky month, Halloween as well. I am somewhat recovered from a cold, so I unfortunately had to miss all the Halloween festivities, but I still watch Trick or Treat on Halloween, so that's my usual go-to Halloween movie. Like that, I think that's the one movie that makes me think like it's Halloween when that's on, kind of thing. I don't know if you have a movie like that, Burn, but
a Halloween movie? No, I don't think so.
I mean, I watch horror year-round, so it really doesn't matter, but...
Yeah.
Because a lot of people do the 31 Days of Horror or something, or I have to watch a horror movie every day. I'm like, I watch them all the time. I fall asleep to them, so it doesn't really make a difference for me. But...
See, I'm not a scary movie guy like that. That's not me.
Oh, come on, Bernie. You gotta work through the nightmares and all that stuff first, and you'll be fine. But speaking of Halloween, I think this is one of those shows... Not only is it just a good show in general, but it really did set the mood for Halloween, because I did have to stay home a few days and I was able to binge through it. And we are talking about the latest Disney Plus series, Agatha All Along, starring Catherine Hahn, Aubrey Plaza, Deborah Jo Rupp, a lot of oh my god, Patty Lupino.
Patty LuPone.
LuPone, exactly.
You get it right.
I know, I'm sorry.
Patty LuPone.
I do. And Joe Locke, which I haven't really seen him in a whole lot. But this is going to be a spoiler episode just because all 9 episodes are streaming, so it did just finish up on Halloween, actually. So if you haven't caught up yet, definitely just come on back. But at the same time, what we're talking about was kind of already revealed within the last week or so. So it's not the biggest deal in my opinion. But we'll talk about our rantings first, how we felt about the show, and then we'll get into that. So just a brief thing of the show. This took place 3 years after WandaVision, which did come out 2021, which is crazy to think that's already been 3 years ago, in which Elizabeth Olsen as Wanda Maximoff, aka the Scarlet Witch, or became the Scarlet Witch in that show. She took over a town called Westview because she was just disheartened by everything that from Endgame and Infinity War, and that's when Catherine Hahn's character Agatha Harkness came into play, where she's a very powerful witch, helped kind of, Wanda to get to that point of being the Scarlet Witch, then has been hypnotized to forget about all that. So this show is kind of her waking up out of that and now getting her powers back. And that's when she has to create a new coven of witches to do so. So I would say... And this is one of those shows I was like, why do we have to make a show dedicated to this? Not that WandaVision was bad, or I have nothing against Catherine Hahn or anything like that. It was just one of those things I'm like, did it really have to be like this? And I was completely wrong on that, and I'm so glad I was, because this show was just so much fun to watch. Really spooky, actually. Very perfect for the Halloween season. And I'm just glad that they're exploring different sides other than just the superhero part. I did see an article talk about that, why Marvel kind of needs to keep branching out, and that is a smart thing. If you are going to do more shows, it's okay to explore other aspects of that world, kind of like what Moon Knight did, what Loki did with what are those time traveling people called, the TVA, and all that other stuff. So I really liked it, and for all that being said, I'm going to give this show a hard 4 out of 5, just because damn near perfect. The acting was amazing all around by the entire cast. Production was solid, even though came off very TV set like in some instances, but I don't care. It worked perfectly on its own. And yeah, we'll get into it more with the spoilers and stuff, but yeah, 4 out of 5 for me, Burn.
I'm right there with you. 4 out of 5 for me, just to get that out of the way quickly. Look, this was a show that I wasn't looking forward to really at all. Like you mentioned, it seems like, one of those where it's like a lot of other shows that were successful, they get a spin-off of a side character that, you really don't know if you need it or not. Certainly there have been some successes in the past of, spin-offs from other big shows on that have happened on TV. Frasier's one that comes to mind. But obviously within the MCU, we haven't really gotten a spin-off of a show yet, I don't think, to my knowledge. But coming into this one, it was like, how is this going to turn out? I thought Agatha and Catherine Hahn were great in WandaVision, but I didn't know if I needed more of her, and in particular with her own show. But I'm so happy to be proven wrong. I thought everything that you mentioned about the show is spot on. The acting across the board was really well done. I thought this was one of the few Marvel shows that actually leaned into it being a TV series instead of just being a long movie. So I thought that they handled the episodic nature of it really well, where each episode was kind of its own storyline, obviously building on the bigger story, but each one was very focused on whatever it was talking about in that episode. And a lot of the times it was very much honing in on each different witch and their stories and the journey that they were on the road. So I thought they handled that really well. Like you mentioned, the set design was low budget, but in a really fun way, and you can tell they made a lot of use of the budget. And I know I read somewhere that this was like the show or the Marvel project with the smallest budget. And I think they use that to their advantage. And I think sometimes when it comes to projects, the more you're limited, the more creative you can get with certain things. That doesn't go for every project, but for this one, it seemed to really work because it seemed to really emphasize, the performances and the character interactions and the writing in particular of these characters. I thought it's where it really shined. And when it gets into the effects things, it gets more into the Marvel side of things. It becomes obviously a little bit more generic in that sense, but I'm glad to say that that was such a small part of this series that everything else shined even more so. So yeah, it's a 4 out of 5 for me. Really pleasantly surprised by this series, and it couldn't have come out at a better time of a year.
Yeah, no, great stuff, Bern. I definitely, I'm glad we're on the same page on this one. I know I was messaging you while I was watching. I was like, wow, this is like some good stuff. But, oh man, again, I'm glad that I was wrong in, thinking like, did we need this show? And the answer was yes, we did. So for those of you who did, who haven't finished it up, definitely check it on back. It's all, like I said, it's all on Disney Plus. And then once you're all caught up, now you can come back to our spoiler stuff. So, for those of you who did watch it, we're just going to talk about some of our favorite aspects of it and go a little deep dive to a certain extent. So, yeah, so like I said, I thought the first episode was definitely like, I think kind of the most intriguing one for the most. This one, and I will say the last 2 episodes were like the best episodes. Best way to begin it and end it, where, Agatha was like a cop in Westview, and I was like, oh man, Westview modern, it's so weird to look at. Like, because how Wanda took it from, like the 1950s all the way up to kind of modern day, but it definitely made it feel more like grungy and dirty, kind of like again, to fit that whole cop scenario. So kind of like that WandaVision feel.
Yeah, it definitely had that sort of style that WandaVision had, where they were imitating like TV series of like back in the day, but this time it was sort of like a play on like True Detective or something like the HBO crime series. I thought that was a really fun way to tip the cap to WandaVision and to like do something that show hadn't done already.
Yeah, and just Catherine Hahn, man, she just really knows how to sell a different character. Like, it's funny how she went from a very comedic actress, very side character, to now becoming like either super hilarious or very dramatic, and I'm all for it. And again, Aubrey Plaza, just another tour de force in this show. Just comes off with good energy, very sinister, but you don't quite know it yet. Although I am upset is because I waited to binge it like how we were talking about. And again, man, I freaking hate the internet for spoiling majority of it, so I kind of had to keep tricking myself. I just kept telling myself like, okay, I can sign to see bits and pieces. Like after Agatha woke up and found herself, how Aubrey Plaza came in with the whole, like her black robes, essentially like her assassin outfit. I got the vibes of Puss in Boots too, like with Death coming in as the wolf and his cloak and stuff. So it's like they've been hinting at it bit by bit. And then Joe Locke, I didn't. If I didn't get spoiled, I don't know if I would have seen the Wiccan thing coming. And I didn't. I don't know if I would have known if Rio Vidal was Death. But I think those two. I think all 3 of them, aside from the other leading ladies, I think those 3 had like the best moments and just best character design throughout the entire show. Especially at the end with just the death, like how part of her face is the skull, which is kind of contrary to the comic book version, which is just a straight up just skeletal head. So I thought that was really nice, like very well done. And I like how you told me in our private conversations is very Dia de los Muertos, like, like Day of the Dead kind of feel. And I was like, yeah, I definitely see that too. I thought that was really cool.
Yeah, the whole idea of her being death was a really cool idea, and it's one that I was watching it week to week, and it was something that people were like speculating on from early on, just because of the way she acted and sort of like the cryptic way that her and Agatha would talk to each other. So that was kind of fun to sort of like on a week to week basis, like sort of speculate on is she like some other obscure witch that we don't really know about, but the way they tied it up with the whole the green witch thing, it being like this symbolic of life and also death is a really cool thing. And yeah, the whole visuals with her were great for me. Joe Locke as teen, aka Wiccan, was something that I kind of clocked right from the beginning, just because I know of that character. I'm familiar of the Wiccan character, and yeah, just the way he looks, it looks very much like Wiccan from the comics. So it was like, okay, like they're going to confirm it at some time. I like that they didn't extend that as sort of like a reveal like later on. They did it pretty early on. I think it was like episode 4 or 5, about like a little bit less than halfway through, I believe. So I'm glad they didn't like make it seem like, oh, now like nobody knows who he is and prolong that reveal. I thought, get to it, give us that really cool episode of like explaining everything and how like this whole situation happened. So I thought they did a good job with that. And I liked him as a character. It was very fun to see him and Agatha sort of go at each other back and forth. I thought they had a lot of fun with that dynamic. And Catherine Hahn and Joe Locke just had really good chemistry with each other, I think.
Yeah, I mean, all the actors really a part of their Agatha's little bullshit coven. Really, I think they all had really great chemistry. Whether they pretend like they didn't like each other, but then in the way they bonded, it was just all very well done. Patti LuPone was just amazing in this show. So much fun to watch. To be honest, I haven't really seen her in a whole lot. Like the only other thing I've really known her from was 30 Rock, because she plays Frank's mom, who's like the super, like, I don't know what I would call him. I guess he was just one of the bigger nerds, one of the writers of the show. And so I was like, oh, okay, like that's cool. She's in it. She had a very cool episode too. Aside from
hers was my favorite.
Yeah, it was just super well done. I think it definitely, I mean, it contradicted kind of like how we view time travel in a certain extent with like TVA, Endgame, and all that stuff. But at the same time, it's just another way to tell time.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it did necessarily, because it was just her consciousness that was jumping back and forth. That wasn't actual time travel.
No, not necessarily. Yeah, I know, but how she brought up the whole conversation with what's that other character's name? The one with the potions and stuff like that.
Jennifer.
Yeah, Jennifer, played by Sashir Zamata. How she's talking about, we like time is not like a river, like a flow or something. It's not an actual line. It's all happening simultaneously. And I think that episode really nailed that concept down beautifully. Just because like in Endgame, how the Sorcerer Supreme, she kind of did the whole time flow with like the whole hypothetical with the stones and stuff, and then the TVA, how they have the timeline and it branches out into other stuff. So that's what I mean, but it's not necessarily contradictory, because again, like you said, it's not time travel, it's just moments that her conscious is like visiting. So that was really good. I also really liked the defense witch played by Ali on Alice's character, where she's the daughter of a prominent witch. She was really cool. I felt bad for Deborah Jo Rupp's character. Just the gardening neighbor. She didn't need to be there whatsoever, but she was fun. I just kept thinking of like, man, it's hard to believe she's in that 70s show growing up. Still looks the same, and it's just she's the same character.
I wish she would have made it further along, because I really enjoyed her sort of like fish out of water, like not understanding what's going on here. And I thought that dynamic with her and the rest of the group was pretty great for the first couple of episodes that she was in there with them. But yeah, she was fun while she lasted. But I really would have liked for her to stay longer.
Yeah, exactly. And that's one thing. So I mean, if we talked about the characters, I've talked about the acting and stuff, very minimal, but I will say that was the coolest concept with Joe Locke as Wiccan, because I kind of remember the character, but at the same time, it's one of those, I'm like, he's like a younger Avenger, so I don't really think about that team too much. But I like that they really mirror, like how the first episode mirrored like WandaVision with the whole genre bending kind of thing, or mimicking a genre. it's like father like daughter, or it's like son like mom, really, or mother like son kind of thing, where Wanda manipulated reality, and he did the same thing, which I thought that was so flippin'. That was a great twist I did not see coming. That the Witch's Road really was bullshit, and it's all in his mind. Like, he wanted it to be real so bad, he manifested it. Oh man, that was such a great reveal. Just all the stuff in the room. I was like, no way, he made it all up. Like, it was just so cool. And then and I like that they didn't really prop Agatha as a hero this time around. We definitely got to see why she is the way she is, why she got evil. So I thought that was really well done by not making her a hero, just kind of making her as almost anti-hero, but at the same time she was still a monster. Like, she admitted she was gonna kill everybody. She was gonna take their powers the second episode. So I mean, that just kind of puts into perspective, that's who you've been dealing with.
I did like that they didn't go with the whole hero turn, for sure. I did like that they kept her. She is an antagonist, and she has done like horrible things in the past and was planning on doing horrible things. What this series did wasn't sort of like redeem her in that sort of sense. It just gave us a look into like who she was as a person and why she started doing the things she did. So I thought that was really well done. It wasn't just a classic, oh, we get a villain show, now she's going to be a hero type of thing. It's like, no, she's still very much who she is. It's just we understand her better now. And I think she understands herself a little more and gets to resolve those the past trauma that she had in her own personal story, which was basically the thing of every witch here. They were all sort of resolving their past traumas as they took on the Witch's Road, which, as you mentioned, again, really cool reveal that wasn't real the entire time. Or I guess it was real, but it was a manifestation of Wiccan's power, which was such a great way, again, a fun nod to WandaVision and what Wanda did there, but so a great showcase in just how powerful of a witch he is, which is really cool. And we'll see if he shows up later on in any sort of Young Avengers type thing that they're sort of been hinting at for a while now.
I mean, I feel like it'll kind of have to, because we have Kamala Khan as Miss Marvel. We have Haley Steinfeld as oh my god, I forgot that character.
Hawkeye.
Technically Hawkeye. What was her name though in the show?
Oh, Kate Bishop.
Kate Bishop, thank you. Kate Bishop, aka Hawkeye 2.0. We have Florence Pugh, but she's part of the
Thunderbolts.
The Thunderbolts,
right?
Yeah. So they're definitely hinting at the future of Marvel, and I think this is definitely one of the better shows to kind of cement that. Mm-hmm. And again, the fact that it didn't harp on the superhero aspect, it just makes me want more supernatural stuff. Like, especially with the news that Blade is essentially in limbo, it may never get released because no one can nail that down. God knows why. And I feel bad for Marshall Ali, but at the same time, I know he's still doing stuff here and there. But that's like, dude, I would love the Midnight Suns to come into play, especially that we have Moon Knight, we have Agatha, we have all this stuff going on in Doctor Strange. Like, there's definitely stuff they could kind of explore without being superhero like. And the episodic nature, I definitely agree with you that I think that's why it was easier to binge this show than most, is because I think maybe just, since these shows started coming out around COVID, it was one of those things, what else are we going to watch? So that's why they did the whole movie thing, essentially. Like, oh, these are basically Marvel movies at home. But I think they just need to get back to formula and just make it like a TV show. And I think this one did it exceptionally well.
Mm-hmm. Focus on the more smaller character-driven stories that TV series lend themselves well to. Getting 30 to 60 minutes of just being with these characters and watching them interact with each other and go through each journey episodically, where each episode you feel satisfied, where you're not like, oh, maybe it'll be good later on because, they're not really giving us anything at this moment, but maybe 2 episodes later we might figure out what's going on here in terms of the broader story. It's like, no, let's give each episode its time to breathe, and let's make sure it's really well written and that we learn something new every episode. And there's a satisfying beginning and a satisfying end, and it helps the branch the wider narrative of the entire series. So yeah, they just did a great job on that sense, which again seems to have been a weakness in a lot of Marvel series we've gotten.
Yeah, like this one and Loki have ended on the best notes. WandaVision didn't have a bad ending, but that show had I felt like it teased a lot, and that was kind of like given it was also one of those things we as fans, we're always looking for Easter eggs and things to kind of hype us up into something. So that's partially our fault, but at the same time, the way they had certain stuff was like, are we gonna see this? What happened to some of these plot lines? But I think this is definitely one of the better show, like if not the best show so far, aside from Loki, seasons 1 and 2. The only other thing I also really liked is, with Aubrey Plaza's death and like their relationship, that Agatha's always obsessed with that. She loved death to a certain extent, and her actions do speak to that. She was always constantly giving people, like killing people, taking their magic, giving them to death, essentially. So I thought that was a great way. But the reason why she was doing it was just because she's trying to, that it's kind of like the Deathly Hallows story in Harry Potter, where somebody wanted to just beat death eventually, and it's like in the end you really can't. So, I thought that was a really cool aspect of that relationship.
Yeah, how it started off as something a little bit more understandable, where she's doing it to prolong the life of her son, and then later on, after that is over and done with, she just keeps on doing it just because it's become this cycle that she's done, and she's sort of like punishing herself, but then also like servicing her relationship with death in a sense. Even though they're after that moment like not on the best of terms, it's just one of those things where hurt people, and she's just in this cycle of constant like trauma and just self-loathing, and just really sad that she doesn't have her son with her anymore. So yeah, that element was very surprising. I wouldn't have pictured Agatha as a mother, but yeah, adding that sort of element to her, it would be interesting to rewatch WandaVision with that lens. To see if there was like any seeds planted there, but yeah, the sort of character work here and the personal journey that she was on, having to confront that reality of the actions that she did in her past and why she did them, was such an interesting thing in the show, and I'm glad that the last episode was the one to reveal that. And along the way, I was kind of like, I want to know about this now. I feel like that's something they're prolonging a little bit too much, but the way that it worked out, where that sort of recontextualized the whole season, was I think probably the right move. Other people might not agree, but I think as a finale, that sort of I felt satisfied with that.
Yeah, absolutely. The only thing I could think of, it kind of made sense why she had the dark hold in WandaVision. Not only just because ultimate power, but like Wanda and, at the end of that show and then Multiverse of Madness, they just wanted power for their children. So I think that's kind of, that's the only thing I could think of. But yeah, I would probably have to go back and watch just to see if there's anything else that hinted at her like tragic history. But at the same time, it's half the tragedy is really on her. So, everything comes with a price. But other than that, I really got nothing else. I'm just very happy with the show. I'm glad it ended on a strong note. And I just look forward to, more of these actors just in everything, really.
Yeah, no, agreed. It is unfortunate that things played out the way they did, because I really would have liked to see all these actresses back in these roles. I thought they were all fantastic. Again, especially Patti LuPone, and that episode of hers, which I thought was fantastic. Probably one of my favorite just Marvel episodes of TV that we've gotten. But yeah, each actress did such a great job embodying these characters, and I don't know if they have plans for a season 2, but I'm more willing for one now at the end of this first season to get another one. But yeah, it was just a fun time spending time with these ladies every week, and I thought they did a fantastic job with the show here, and I would like to see more of them. I don't know how, but I would.
Yeah, if you want a Marvel version of Hocus Pocus, this is the show for you. So
yeah, basically.
Yeah, because I like that it kind of spun the, witches and not just being, pawns of Satan, essentially, like that. I like that they emphasized the craft using with them. And also, Patti LuPone's episode was a little bit more enlightening on tarot, more so. Other than that stupid tarot movie that came out this year that you and I had the pleasure of watching on Netflix.
The best horror movie of the year.
Absolutely not. But for those of you guys who did stick around for the spoilers, please let us know what you thought about in the comments. Did you like it as much as we did? Did you have a favorite character? Is there something you wish they could have done more? I know we all have those characters I wish could have made an appearance at point, but at the same time, I'm fine with what we got. So we're now getting into the holiday season with all the award contenders and some other movies I've been looking forward to. I think the most anticipated one for me is Nosferatu, but that comes out on Christmas, so still got some time.
Not
for
Gladiator 2, surprising.
That's up there, but I'd rather see Nosferatu just because horror
True.
and Dracula story, and Gladiator 2 is getting good buzz though, so we'll talk about that when it comes out. Until next time, everyone, stay bodacious and keep on ranting for us.
Absolutely, everybody. Be good, be safe, and as always, we'll catch y'all on the next one.